Yeah, and you even had your amp relay one wide running as well, Mark. So yeah, that's good. It's good when you find out loads of stuff, and you'll go to bed tonight, Mark, sleeping a bit happier.
Yeah, I thought I had the amp on the right one, but you said I didn't say that the correct pins were used, but the cable was crap. So I've now got that RG 58 cable, which was very old. I had to wipe the mud off it. I didn't think I had any, so I found some at the bottom of the garage. All good. And it's I also made it slightly longer length, so it doesn't go over the top of the transmit cable. I think that's all for the potential RF or the like. I'm very, very happy, Marky. And the mirror is working. And I like this linear, because if I make a mistake with it, not like the Acom just does all sorts of happy things. But if I inadvertently forget to wind the power back when I'm using it, it's still very forgiving. It'll take over 100 watts into it.
Yeah, the Acom's good for that, Mark. As soon as you go over on the input drive, they just go to protect, don't they? Or if a couple of times I've gone to transmit on the wrong band, and the Acom just turns off, just goes into protect, the little red LED comes on. They're very quick to react. Actually, the reaction time's like the speed of light. Yeah, they're quite good. They're quite good, Mark. Yeah, well, at least you know now, mate, it's all configured rightly. So, and the audio sounds better as well, Mark. After we had that bit of an EQ tweaking session, last bit of a late night work, that's made you sound a lot nicer now as well, matey. So, yeah, well, the RG58 coax military spec, as long as it's the military spec stuff with the closed braid. What I mean by that, Mark, is that the braid hasn't got any visible gaps in it. So, most cables, like, they quote a screen coverage, don't they? You've probably seen yourself when you're on websites and stuff, when you're looking, they say, 99.999% shielded and stuff like that. And some other cables might say 97% shielded. And so that's basically, I think, more than anything, it's down to the amount of gaps in the shield weave. So providing you've got that nice 100% coverage, that's what you want, Mark. So no RF can make its way through any of the little gaps and onto the inner conductor. So as long as you use the military spec RG58, the good one, which is the one that you've got, the shielding is brilliant on that. It's 100%. So and it's ideal, Mark, because it's about the right outside down, except for the phono plug. Because phono plugs and the DIN plugs don't particularly like cable that's over about 5 or 6 mil in diameter, Mark. If you try and use cable that's sort of 7 or 8 mil, you end up with a bit of a nightmare. So it's been tested and tried many times. I've tried using some right chunky cables into DIN plugs, and you can get it to go, but it's not very nice. So yeah, there's the military spec 58. Well, you can use the Mini 8, but that's obviously 7.5 mil. I think I made all Nelly's leads out of RG Mini 8, but that was a nightmare to get into the DIN plugs, Mark, because you're on the limit there. So the RG58 is like 5.5 or 6 mil or whatever. It's like absolutely perfect for the RCA and the DINs. And as I say, it's ideal because your 50 ohm devices, you've got your nice shielding. So and the inner conductor's a lot thicker, Mark. If you use an audio orient-based cable, like an old phono lead or something, because loads of people use old phono leads for the amp relay lead. They cut the end off an old phono lead and solder the DIN plug on one end. The problem with that is, Mark, a lot of the cheap phono cables, the inner conductors are like 0.3 of a mil or something. You only get about 2 strands of copper, which is it's never ideal. But with the RG58, it's I think the inner conductor's about 0.60 or something. It's quite thick, ain't it? So yeah, it's the way to go. It's a good waffle. M0MRR, M0MSW.
M0 MSW, yes. And you're right, I've actually sent you a picture, Marky, of the back of the amplifier with the end of the PTT cable plugged into it, so you can see the DIN that I've got it. It's it's a metal encased thing. So actually the centre conductor, it's got a little hole on the grub screw, and you screw it and it's tight in place. And then the shield part of the coax I soldered in position. So that's quite good. I'm quite pleased about that. So yes, all the cables are now correct. I will, when I get some new connectors, etc., I will rewire, because it works, doesn't it? But I think I could, the metal pin, the proper connectors look better rather than the plastic ones. So I will do that. That'll be another little project. But for the time being, all the critical cables, maybe with the exception of the PTT cable, is how I want them. So yeah, I'm quite pleased. And I take it, Mikey, that the little breakout lead that I've got for my PTT, this 2-wire ribbon, very short. I just cut it very short and just put that into like a TRS, a mono socket, and then I use that. I just plug into the socket whatever I want to use from a PTT point of view, and I can use whatever cable it is then. That would be the way to do it, yes?
Yeah, okay, Mark. Well, ideally you need to keep all those leads screened, so all the amplifier, TX ground, and obviously screened coax. You want the audio feeds obviously be screen cable. The PTT fly lead, what I do is, Mark, I use a piece of figure of 8 cable, some really tiny DC power cable or something like that. And keep it as short as you can, Mark, because obviously that little tiny piece of wire won't be shielded. It's not the end of the world, it's only for the PTT. But what I do is I like to keep that as short as I can, Mark. So I'll bring a bit of figure of 8, a bit of tiny speaker cable or DC power cable, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same stuff. I'll bring that over the 13-pin DIN, and then I'll put an inline RCA lead, an inline RCA plug rather, socket, sorry. I'll get it right in a minute, Mark. I'll put an inline RCA socket on the end of that bit of thin DC cable, but I do it as short as you can, so do it sort of 3 or 4 inches, Mark. So you've only got about 3 or 4 inches of that wire coming out the back of the 13-pin DIN, then strap it to your metal inline RCA socket, and then you can use a shielded cable then from that to your PTT with a phono plug on, so 2 plugs plugging together. So the only bit that's unshielded will be the tiny bit of cable that comes out the DIN plug for about 3 inches, and I've never had an issue doing it that way, because the problem is, again, with those DIN plugs, Mark, if you use RG58 as your audio feed cable, you haven't got much room to get another wire out the plug. So to use another piece of shielded cable is like, I've tried it many times. You can do it, but the plug's at like bursting point. So usually RG58 and some thin 0.5 mm conductor DC power cable is just the right size, Mark, to get out of the DIN plug at a nice comfortable fit. So that was why I started doing that in the end. But just leave it about 3 or 4 inches, solder your inline socket on, and Bob's your auntie, Mark.
Very good. And actually, Marky, the cable I'm using, I'll just send you another couple of pictures of homemade PTT. It's exactly that. It's got it's DC power cable, little tiny little ribbon, bonded ribbon cable, which I've got coming out. But I've got a fair length of it that comes out from the connector at the back, and I was able to feed that cable to the mini DIN just about kicking through there. So, and that's my fly lead that I've got coming out to the PTT button. So yeah, I'll do that, and I don't have to disassemble it either, because I can just cut the cable at the end, and then just immediately apply it to a socket, and then it's all done. Yeah, brilliant stuff. I'm doing that. Very good. M0, MSW M0,
And we do it in V8F. Good afternoon, guys.
Oh, there's Archie, quite low down with me. Okay, Archie, stand by, matey. Yeah, okay, Mark. Well, you see how you've used that DC power wire to go all the way to the PTT switch? Well, my advice, Mark, would be to use a piece of screen cable, a piece of single core audio screen cable, unbalanced screened audio cable. Just keep all of that wiring screened where you can, Mark. So at the moment, you're going from the accessory socket on the back of the radio all the way to the PTT switch unshielded. You've got to remember, Mark, well, I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, but any unshielded cable is a possible ingress point for RF back into the transmitter. So I just rule of thumb, Mark, keep it all shielded if you can. So instead of running that figure of 8 cable all the way to the PTT switch, keep that as short as you can as a salve, just like a little fly lead coming out of the accessory, 3 or 4 inches long. And then from that connection then, Mark, use a piece of screened mono audio cable to the PTT. So everything will end up shielded apart from that little 4-inch pigtail that comes out to the socket. So that's the only bit that'll be unshielded, that little 3-inch piece. Because then, instead of having, because there's lots of people that use all unshielded cable to do all that wiring with, and it's a bit dodgy really, because you've basically connecting an antenna to the back of the radio if it's unshielded, Mark. It's by amplifiers and all the rest of it, so it's all shielded, matey, and then you've got no chance of being sacked by Mr. Ruffer. Round to you, Archie. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, Archie. It sounded amazing yesterday as well. Yeah, I think you've lost all the settings again, matey. It just goes all muffled and you turn into a subwoofer, Archie. So, I can't get my head around what is going on with your EQ, Archie. I really can't. It's just weird the way, as soon as it's fully loaded, it loses all the settings again. I can't get my head around it, Archie. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Mr. Dave SKA. I'll get in touch with Dave. I think he's working for the next couple of days, but as soon as Dave is on his 4 days off, I think I might try and get Dave on here, or maybe even pass Dave your phone number, if that's okay, and get Dave to go through the storing process and everything like that. I've got a feeling either I might be misleading you a bit somewhere, or you may be pressing the wrong button somewhere. I'm not sure which one, and I'm not sure if it could be the EQ itself that's at fault losing settings. I don't know. The best remedy I can think of, as I say, is to get Dave and to go through it with you, because he's got one in front of him, you see, and he's been using it for donkey's years. So we might be forgetting to press one button. There might be one button that we're missing out, and it's not, we might just be missing out a sequence or something, Archie. I can't see where, and I can't for the life of me think where, but fingers crossed, we'll get Dave on it, and he'll do it the same as he does his, and then it should be okay. If it loses the settings again, then it's got to be another faulty EQ or something, Archie. It's a bit of a baffling one, but at the moment, yeah, it sounds much better with the EQ out, although it does sound very rough with no EQ. It sounds very rough. But it sounds better with it out at the moment, because at least you're intelligible. When you put the EQ in, it just goes all muffled. So I'm not sure what the goings on there are, Mr. Archie. M0VAF, M0MSW.
Keeping the settings down, Marcus. So I think I'll crash it again, do a hard reset, and turn it into but I won't put the PA in, so I'm see what happens.
Okay, Archie. The thing is that unit can work in different modes. I think you have to use the PA mode, because that's the parametric mode, Archie. I think as default, when you turn the unit on, before you start to store a preset, you have to put it into parametric mode. Otherwise, you'll store the preset in another mode, and I'm not sure what all that means. It's been so long since I've had one of those, but I do remember it has to go into parametric mode for definite, and that turns the whole unit then into just a parametric equalizer. So I'm sure that much I do know, but again, I might be mistaken. Actually, it's been such a long time. You know, I'm only being honest. It's been that long since. It's probably been 15 years since I owned one of them, Archie. A long time, and I've used so many different boxes since then. I'm struggling to remember, to be honest. So, yeah, I'll get in contact with Dad. Actually, I'll text him now. I'll pass it back to Mark, and I'll text SKA now and ask him at the next available point if he can get in contact with me or whatever. I mean, we can either do it on the radio, Archie, or I can put you and Dave in direct contact and go that way around it. Either way, we need to try and establish whether it's a faulty unit or we're doing something wrong, Archie. Obviously, if it's a faulty unit, then you know that's he's going to have to go back, isn't he? So yeah, I don't think it is a faulty unit though. I think we're doing something wrong somewhere, Archie. Okay, back round to Mark. M0 MRR, M0 MSW.
M0 MSW, M0 MRR, and M0 VAF. Good afternoon, Archie. I hope you're just about hearing me. I know we're not the best signals between us at the moment, but I do hope you're hearing me. I'm getting you around about an S4, I guess. So I can hear you. The band is fairly quiet at the moment. Marky, yeah, all noted, yeah. Obviously, yeah, unscreened cable all the way through is like a little antenna. So I'm going to shorten that lead fairly quickly. Marky, if you haven't already placed your order, I guess I've got all the bits. Well, maybe I don't. I was going to say maybe don't order those bits and pieces, but if you're ordering from them, it's probably as easy to do that. Or would it be? Maybe it's as easy ordering it directly. I don't know, but yeah, I will change all the connectors. I just need now to get like a socket to have as a receptacle for a PTT lead. I can just plug in as I want, and actually that would be quite useful because then I can vary the length depending on if I rearrange the shack or move it around. It will give me a bit more flexibility. And I'm about to put some ferrite pieces on the back of the 13 pin and the 7 pin, just to make sure that there's some ferrite before it enters the radio. All good stuff. I'm just going to ask Archie if he's getting me any better. M0 VAF, are you getting me any better now, Archie? Back to you.
Mark, sorry, I've just completely lost you. There's some data jump happening. I've just completely lost you. You're not a good signal here. It really is quite hard to pick you up. Marky, I'm going to try and send it through to you two guys and see what I can research on this. And I'll send Dave over. I'll get you some stuff from QRs over. I'll send some stuff over by email as well. Thank you, Marky. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, Archie, I've stand by, Archie. Stand by, everyone. Yeah, I've already contacted SKA, Archie. I think he may be coming onto the radio to help you out.
Brilliant, Mark. Thank you very much. It's I'll pull my hair out in a minute, so I appreciate it. I'll take a back seat and I'll just sit in the back seat and listen, Mark.
Okay, matey. Well, he's just sent me a message saying you've got to select PA mode, so that bit we're doing right. I'm pretty sure we're doing all of it right, Archie. Concerns it could be another faulty unit, or something like that, another corrupt processor or something like that. That's what concerns me, because I can't for the life of me think where we're going wrong. It's not that complex to do, and we're storing all the filters okay, and we're saving all the presets okay, and it's all working okay, and you can hear it sounds okay as well. But the fact that it keeps losing all the settings, I've no idea why that is, Archie. Whether that's something that we're doing, you or I are doing, or whether the unit is crashing and losing that memory. That's the bit that concerns me, obviously. So hopefully Dave can go through the same sequence with you as we've done in the past. And we might just be pressing the wrong button somewhere. I don't know. It just seems strange the way that we seem to be able to use it all okay, but then it loses all the settings. And we're definitely storing it, aren't we? We're storing it every time we put a different filter in. We're storing each one individually. So and then you get to all 10 of them stored, and it loses them all. So I don't know why that is. I honestly can't think why that is. So hopefully Dave will assist anyway soon, Archie. So stick with it, matey, and I'm sure he will come to our rescue soon. And yeah, okay, Mark. So are all the leads back in order now, Mark?
Yes, everything is back in where it should be. So I'm just now going to put a few ferrites around different things, and as you say, I'm going to as soon as I'll find a socket or get you a socket, or I'll get a socket, and I'll make that little pigtail on the 13 pin to plug a shielded PTT lead into it, and that will then get the shack more or less to where it needs to be from an RF point of view, I think. There's always worry, isn't there, when you've got cables and what have you plugging around to this or that you're going to get RF somewhere. And I've got a lot of cables. It's not just a piece of coax out the back of the radio into the antenna. So yes, I can see why potentially you could end up with a lot of problems if you're not careful in what you're doing. M0, MSW, M0, MRR.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you see, Mark. You've always got to bear in mind when you buy amplifiers and transmitters and all that sort of stuff, that any cables that you plug into the back of that transmitter effectively becomes an antenna for RF to get back into the transmitted audio and back into that transmitter. So try and keep all of it screened, all of it shielded at all times, really. And all the plugs need to be metal compatible, because obviously you can get RF getting through those plastic connectors and all the rest of it. So as just a rule of thumb, some people might say it's OTT, but in my opinion, there is no OTT when it comes to RF and shielding. Certainly when you're in our game with the audio gear as well, because as you rightfully say, Mark, a standard sort of radio setup consists of about 5 cables, whereas our radio station consists of about 200 cables. So there's so many possibilities to get problems. Every time it's shielded cable with the best sort of heaviest shield you can find. Metal plugs, all metal constructed plugs, and that way then everything's always shielded, Mark. Everything's always shielded. So you just cut down any chance you put in. I mean, on my 950 SDX, I've got loads of cables coming out of that, Mark. I've got the mains lead, because obviously it's the main radio, so I've got the mains lead coming out the back of the radio. I've got the 7-pin DIN going to the output. I've got the extension speaker out, which goes to a Jensen transformer and to the PC and KRK speakers and all that. I've got the SunSDR play. I've got a balance line input for my audio, which goes into the back. I've got the coax wire, an earth lead. There's probably about 10 cables that go into the back of my radio, Mark. So, you've got to make sure that they're all shielded and they're all got the correct plugs on them, basically. And what you should do. Ferrites make up for poor shielding, Mark. As long as you've got good, decent shielding, ferrites are unnecessary, Mark.
Yes, they probably are. And actually, it's interesting. I was speaking to Bernard yesterday on the phone, and I was saying after making up these leads, he was asking about ferrites, and I said, Bernie, I haven't got one ferrite in the back of my audio equipment, not one. And that's because as a result of using this high quality cable connectors, probably a short method of doing it to a standard, that there is absolutely no need for them at all. It's the only place I've got ferrites and what have you is on the back of the radio, the ANT and the ATU. I've got them everywhere, from the radio in and out. But the audio rack is not shielded at all. And actually, the microphone cable on top of the boom arm, without the great big ferrite that I had on there before, looks much neater. It looks really good actually. So yes, it's just at the radio connector points and the ATU. So that's why I've got ferrites. But you're probably right. I'm waffling just a tad. M0, MSW, M0, MRR.
Yeah, Dave SKA, Mark, he's asking, are you using a subterranean antenna today?
No. Everything looks good. I'm getting you 9.10.
Well, he said I think Mark must be using a subterranean antenna today. He's down with the grubs.
It could be. I haven't checked the antenna in a few days, so maybe something's not quite as tight as what it should. But no, I think it's just conditions. I think, Marky, at the moment.
Yeah, no, he's only playing you up, mate. Now you're the same signal to me as always, Mark. You're the same to me. And may I just say, the audio now sounds better, far more stable than it's ever sounded, Mark. It's hands and above what you've ever done before. Now you're connecting all those. Now you're using all the correct pins on all those connections, and that little tweak on the EQ and the resetting of the triple C. It sounds the cleanest and the nicest I've ever heard you, Mark.
Ooh.
And that sounds like an SKA coming to the rescue, my knight in shining armour.
Good afternoon. Hope we're well. I just literally turned the radio on when you messaged me, Mark. And I'm on nights tonight, so I had a bit of a lie in. But I hope you're all well. Mark, your signal, you're very low with me, but must be band conditions anyway. Mark, you're only about 5 and 8, where normally you're 5.9 plus. So we'll put it down to band conditions, have it?
Yeah, that's all it'll be, mate. It's that time of day though as well, Dave. It always sort of there's a bit of a dip, isn't there, around about here? It's actually about like now 1 o'clock, isn't it? I think it starts to recover then, doesn't it, after that dip? But good to hear you, matey. Yes, we've got MRR, as you know, and we've also got Archie on standby there, Dave. And basically, Dave, just to fill you in, matey, he's got the, as you know, he had the faulty runner 2496s. So I advised Archie to forget those and get a feedback destroyer probe. Blitzers are only £100, and they're probably more powerful than 2496 on the EQ section anyway. So Archie got a brand new feedback destroyer probe. We've put all the settings in. We've configured it just to use the left engine, and uncoupled the channels from stereo link to dual mono. We've selected filter A, engine L. We put all the presets in, so all the red lights light up on the engine L line on the left hand side. So we get 10 red LEDs, so let us know we've got 10 active filters in use. All saved, all locked and loaded, all sounding lovely. Then all of a sudden, Dave, all the settings disappear.
Right. What channel is he selected? Because you can put various settings in there, Mark, on different selections. Now, I'm on selection 4 at the moment with this profile. So when you select a profile, you've got to stay on that profile. If you're turning the jog button, a jog knob, and going on a different profile. So before he starts, make sure he stays on profile number 1, let's say. Goes into the filter select, make sure he's got PA, which he said he has. And then what I do, I full set one up last night, and I save each frequency as we go along. So we do one at a time and save it, and then go back and check that it's saved, Mark.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing, Dave. That's exactly what we're doing, mate. So we select engine L, select PA mode, and then input the frequencies and save them all. Now, I think, I said to Archie, I've got a feeling it could be exactly what you just said, Dave. I've got a feeling Archie might be saving all the filters in different presets. So every time it's asking him what preset to save the filter in, he's selecting the next preset instead of selecting preset 1 every time. I think Archie might be doing that by mistake, and I've suspected that all along. I just wanted to talk to you, Dave, about it, to see if I could be pushed in the correct way in the correct direction. And you've just said what I've been thinking all along, Dave. So in other words, as we're inputting each filter, and those are all supposed to be saved to preset 1, aren't they? I think Archie might be saving all those to a different preset each time. So instead of ending up with 10 filters in one preset, he's ending up with 10 presets with one filter in each one, Dave, over.
Yeah, I think that's what will be happening. So that you're better off make sure he's on preset number 1 and start there. Make sure the PA is set. It will be easy to sort out, because if Archie, if you go to the preset that you started with, say keep it on number 1. So turn your jog button to number 1. Press filter select, and then press frequency. I'm guessing you should be showing 40 Hertz. And then if you go back and press filter select and press frequency and go to number 2, you should be showing 80 Hertz, and I bet you haven't got anything in there. I bet that's what he's doing, Mark.
Yeah, I've been thinking this, Dave. I've been thinking, each time you put a filter in and it asks you to store, and each time you make an adjustment, you change the filters, with the frequency and the octave and the gain. The store light flashes to ask you to store it. Now, when the filter light flashes, it asks you what preset to store that in. Do you select number 1 every time, Dave?
I don't think it does do that, Mark, to be fair. So I think if you're on preset 1 and you've opened the filter up, it should stay on preset 1. It's when he's coming back out and turning the jog button to go to frequency number 2. I bet he's not pressing filter select before he's turning the jog button over.
Yeah, it'll be something like this, Dave. It'll be something like this, mate. So I've suspected this right from the start, but because it's the first time Archie's used that unit, you see, Dave. Yeah, it will be that. It will be that, because I've never heard of one of them going filter ever. They're ultra reliable compared to the 2496. So it will be that. I think what's happening is every time Archie puts a preset in, and it asks you to store it, he's not storing them into preset 1, guys. He's putting each one into a separate preset. That's what I'm actually thinking. That's what Archie's doing. So if you're listening, Archie, do a full factory reset again. Put all those back in again. But every time when you store it, just leave it on number 1. Don't change the preset. So each time you put one in, each time you put a filter bank in, the frequency in there, and the store light flashes to ask you to store it, don't turn the jog wheel, just leave it on 1 each time. So it stores to preset 1 every time. And remember, obviously, to engage the parametric mode button. I think that's where you're going wrong, Archie, and I had a sneaky suspicion that might have been the case. I'm pretty convinced that's what it is. So full factory reset, input all your filters, but each time you input a filter and it asks you to store, don't change the filter bank, leave it on 1. So that each filter you're doing, you're storing to, all of them are stored to number 1. And I think that will solve our problem, Archie. Round to you, Mark. M0MRR on the subterranean antenna. M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey on the wet piece of string.
M0MRR returning to the group. Nice to hear you on. I think it's well after midnight, maybe even 1 o'clock, that it ended, and I struggled to get up to do the transport runs this morning. But Dave, all my cables are now changed and completely swapped around to a high standard, so that every single one, including the PTT lead to the amp, which is what I just finished off this morning. So I'm really quite chuffed with how it's all going. And you're sounding very good, even though the signal strength isn't very high. It's a very good name, so very easy copy. M0 SKA M0 MRR.
Yeah, okay, Mark, excellent. Yeah, well done with the cables. That's something I should do really, but in time I'll get there. Mark, and count the late night. Yeah, well, I was on the radio till about 2 o'clock. That's quite a good chat. Just good laugh off the bat. It was quite fun. Which I was going to come down and find you guys, and then people called in, and it just evolved. And I left at 2 o'clock, and some of the guys are still on. Oh, I don't know. I was okay with the late night because someone was working the month. So yeah. Anyway, I've got a different profile in Mark and Marky. I've got a different profile in. This is one that Ray was using, or is using, and it's one of Rowley's. So EI3GV, Ray gave me the settings because I liked it. It sounded like chocolate. So I quickly put it in yesterday, and it's a very strange sort of, yeah, I'll send you the settings, Mark, you can have a look, and Mark, but yeah, I don't know what you think. Anyway, back round to you, Mark, and then on to Mark.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's, I think the signal's a bit up and down, but when you're coming through, it sounds very good, Dave. It sounds very mature audio, very professional. But I can hear everything very clearly. When you're up, it's fully quietening, but unfortunately it's a bit of QSD, so it doesn't last very long. But it sounds pretty good. Right here, Marky.
Yes. Okay, Mark. Yeah, it don't sound too bad, Dave. It doesn't sound spot on. You need a bit more top end and a bit. It's not spot on, but it sounds okay, Dave. It sounds okay to me, mate. It sounds quite nice. Interesting to do that. What you're using there, Dave. It's some wonderful and wacky profile. Yeah. No, it's good stuff, mate. We was on quite late last night as well, weren't we, Mark? I think I came off about 1:30, Dave, so just before you guys. And yeah, that's some quite good fun last night. A couple of another newcomer actually called in for the first time as well, Rod. M0, MV, Victor Mike Victor, using a nice load of rack gear and what was the radio now? I can't think. But yeah, so yeah, had some fun there. Mark's been doing all his cables. Me and Tony have been messing around with equalisers for the last couple of days, sorting Tony's shack out. So it's been all go with us, Dave. But everybody's been making some massive improvements over the last couple of days. Mr. Mark MRR, we found out he had loads of incorrect cables and sorted all them out. Oh, I just had a picture come through on WhatsApp. Rod was using a 990. Okay, cheers, Tone. Yeah, apparently Rod was using a 990. Of course he was, and it sounded pretty awesome as well. So yeah, times are good. I've just seen that picture, Dave, come up on my monitor. Let's just have a look at the EQ. 71 hertz. Oh, there's nothing on that. 0.58. Oh yeah, I sort of thought I was going to see something really wacky, and it is something really wacky, Dave, over.
I know, I looked at the frequencies and thought, what's going on there? And I left 100 and 2,000 out, the bottom two. And then when I put that profile in, and I did it exactly as it is on there, Mark, or more or less. And then I found that I thought, no, I need to put something in higher up. So I put something in at 2, and then I did alter 100 as well, but it sounded a little bit woolly. But once I did that, it sort of sounds okay, doesn't it, Marco?
Yeah, it don't sound bad, Dave. It just doesn't sound as full and as lively as normal. Usually got a nice low rumble. You've lost the low rumble. You've got no low rumble at all. It's a bit weird, that is, Dave. I can't understand why there'd be a boost at 5 octaves of 0.5. Why would you want to put a boost with 5 octaves at 0.5? Why not just use 1 octave and do 2 dB or something like that? Yeah, no, it is a bit of a weird looking profile, that one, Dave. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it don't sound bad. but it doesn't sound like it's lost all the separation and the roll, and there's a few things that have disappeared. But that don't sound bad, Dave. It just sounds very calm and very subdued to how it normally sounds. So it sort of just sounds quite normal and flat, if you like. Whereas usually you've got loads of nice rumble and I don't know. So yeah, it's something to play with, though, isn't it, Dave? Something to play with. But a very strange profile, very strange. Yeah, indeed. But you may find that obviously everybody's profiles are very different, aren't they? They've all got different voices and stuff, and obviously the equipment they use as well. But a word of warning, Dave: if it's somebody that uses an SDR, if somebody using an SDR ever sends you an EQ profile, it's usually very different. So the two don't seem to usually work anyway, Dave.
No. Ray told me about it. I said, well, what are you using? And he said, I'll send it to you. When I looked at it, I thought, what the... I just couldn't get my head around it. And I thought, I have to try it, Marky. I have to try it. Anyway, I've gone back to my normal role.
A million times better.
There you go. Anyway, I wonder if Archie's managing to do anything...
That's so much better, Dave. Wow. Yeah. Much better on that profile, Dave. Yes, Archie's M0 VAF.
M0 VAF, so M0, forgive me. Now I'm struggling to put the stuff in at the minute, Dave. I'm getting there, but I am struggling. Back to you.
Yeah, okay. Right. Well, just make sure you stay on the same profile when you put the frequencies in Archie. You've got signal anyway, 5 and 9. I'll let you carry on and then come back in when you've got the profile.
M0 SK from M0 VAF. So all I do, Dave, is literally put them all in on top of one another. So the only number I see on the screen is profile 1, or whatever it is, filter 1. And I put them all in on top of each other. Is that correct, back to you, Dave?
Yeah, you stay on profile 1.
Yes, Archie, yes.
So if you imagine profile 1 being one bank frequency or added, and then you should just get one line of light coming across the top row if you're on the left engine. So every time you say one, the light should go solid, Archie, instead of flashing on the display.
Yeah, that's what happened the other day. So what happened was light 1, 2 and 3 stayed solid, and then when I came to light 4 flashed, and then I lost all of it. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe you turned the jog button and went onto a different profile. So instead of being on profile 1, you went up on profile 2. That's what we were thinking of. So just remember to go into filter mode and select PA on each frequency of it.
Okay, M0 VAF return. Okay, Dave. Well, I'm going to do that. It's going to take me a little bit of a while because it's I'll do that, and I'll be back in contact with you. Thank you very, very much for your help. I do appreciate it. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, no problem, Archie. Anytime. Okay. Right. I'll put it down to Marky. So you had a late Mark. I mean, you had a late night, and you couldn't get up this morning, Mark, have it?
Yes, that's pretty well it. I had a very late night. It's been ages and ages since been yakking till 1 after 12 anyway. And I struggled somewhat this morning. But nevertheless, I did. I got up, I done what I needed to do, and even managed to go down to the shops. Quite happy getting the tools away for the next rainy day that I need them. So I'm quite pleased. And Saturday I'm going back to work tomorrow, and I'm working on a weekend as well. And then next week I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's Tuesday that I hopefully will be going down to Ramsgate to see our friend Pete. So I'm looking forward to that. Apparently he says on the sunny day you can see France. So I'm going to take my big camera and see if I can get some pictures of France. It's quite neat. I've never been to that part of the world before. Looking forward to it. And the other thing we discovered as well over the last couple of days, I completely had my my audio signals going into the radio from the rack completely wired incorrectly. So it's now all resolved, and hopefully all will be good and a bit more stable. M0 SKA M0 MRR.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh well. Well, I mean, I can't hear you fully quietly. You're only about an S4, Mark, with QS. So very strange condition. But I can hear the audio. But obviously, if Marky has set that up, it'll sound great. So no issues at all. Fine, I'm going down to see Pete. Yeah, I spoke to Pete last night, so that'll be good, won't it? He'll have the amplifier then and sort that out. So all good, Mark, over.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it very much. Might even, because it's the seaside, isn't it? Not the beach per se, but seaside. I might even see if I can get some fish and chips. Fish and chips looking at the sea. Apparently Tuesday's meant to be a nice day. So yeah, it's going to be a fairly long drive, but I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a different day out. So that's what I'll do. But in the in-between time, it's just tidying up things here, and hopefully the conditions will improve as the day goes on. Dave, did you say you were working tonight?
Yeah, I'm working tonight and tomorrow night, and then I'm off for 12 days.
Right, okay. For 12 days?
Yeah, I've taken a set off, so I've taken 4 holidays and I get 12 days off. Oh.
But you've just gone back to work.
And?
But you were calling me part-time the other day, and now you're on holidays again.
Well, there you go. That's how it goes. And will you bring me back some candy floss and some rock and a Kiss Me Quick hat, please?
I'll bring you back something. Something. I won't tell you what it is. I'll post it to you, and you'll get it when you get it.
Check your...
Okay. On to you, Mark, yeah?
Yeah, check your WhatsApp, Mark. I've just sent you a nice, lovely picture there. Have a look at that and tell me what you think it might be.
Oh, you have sent me a lovely picture there. Do you think that could be RF, perhaps?
No, look at that picture. Can you see the graph?
Yes, I can. So it's got a yeah, we can. It's got no. Oh, yeah. So I can see my audio going to. Okay. Is it not? What am I missing, Marky?
Nothing, Mark. That's your transmit. That's your transmit audio graph, Mark. So it was a lovely signal then. I'm actually getting a lovely graph of you. Amazing. If you look, you can see they've got your base peaks around 100 hertz, and you've got a big dip around the 160, and it goes flat then, just a slight little hill, downward hill towards the top end, but it's a pretty flat mark. You can see it dies off at about 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. So if you look at your true transmit bandwidth, it starts at about 60, well it goes down to about 30, but the actual audio content, I can see your transmission goes down to 30. It goes between 30 and 4.4 is the total transmit bandwidth. But the actual audio content within that transmit bandwidth starts at around about 80 hertz. You climb up to 100 hertz, dips down to 160, and then a small downward climb down to the 4.3. Could you follow what I was saying there, Mark?
I can. And is there a way? So is that with that as it is now? That shows where you can tweak and reduce, gain and subtract, etc. With that as the kind of like the black map.
Well, that's basically your TX sound, basically, Mark. So it's as simple as that, matey. You can use it for indication. I wouldn't tweak the audio according to the graph, because that never works, Mark. But yeah, it's a good way of just showing you what you're doing. Really, I just use it as a way of showing you what I'm doing. I never really use it to tweak the audio. I use it to set the EQ up. So I have to sweep the EQ mark and find each filter. So I use it for that, but I don't actually use it for setting up the sound itself. I set the sound up by ear, and then I just look at it what it's doing on the graph afterwards to give me a reference to where I am. And sometimes there's things that you can't hear that the graph will point out. But you can see that's a lovely transmit profile shape, that is, Mark. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful shape. So you could probably do with cutting a tiny bit more around about sort of 300 and 500, a tiny bit more at 300, I think, maybe, or a slightly wider octave at 300, Mark. You see when it dips down to 160, see where it peaks at 100, then it dips right down to 160, and then it climbs back up again to 200. You could just do with bringing that little lump down a tiny bit, so increasing the bandwidth to 300 would just bring all that area down a bit, see? So you can use it as indications like that. It doesn't always work. It gives you ideas and suggestions of what to try next, and then obviously ultimately it comes down to listening by ear, Mark. But that's a nice sharp graph, that is, Mark. That's a very nice sound.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That's very good. I can see that. I'll in fact I'll forward that to my computer. I'll put it on a bigger screen to have a look, and it'll make more sense. No, it's very good. Did you hear that, Dave? I've got very good audio.
Unfortunately, I can't hear it. You need to concentrate on antenna.
Yeah, I will when it stops raining. It was horrible outside, but okay, that's good. That's good. I'm just yeah, I'm just there. Thank you very much. I'll and Marky, yeah, I didn't. All right, yeah, I've ordered stereo in my jack. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you needed mono, Mark. So I never use the term mono and stereo. I either use the term 2-pole or 3-pole, or balanced and unbalanced. Yeah, stereo and mono. You need the mono ones, Mark. The mono ones.
Okay, I do. What a pain in the backside. I'll get them. Yeah, I just yes, okay. Well, it made you laugh.
Well, you've always got those as spare for something or other, Mark. The mono ones you need to use, mate, and then obviously to connect into that, then you use a mono Nutric TS plug, Mark. Oh, it's the residential Bernard. How's it going, matey? Is everything okay? GW4ZUJ M0MSW. Oh. Yeah, you're very low with me, Bernard. You're very, very low. But I think it's just the band, mate. I think the band's playing up a bit. The propagation seems to act quite localised this time of day, Bernard, or patchy, or whatever you want to call it. Very selective. So, but yeah, nice to hear you, Bernie. Hope all is well. We've just been joined by Tony as well, Mr. VDO. So we've got on frequency, Bernard. We've got Mark MRR. We've got Dave SKA. We've got Tony VDO, and we've also got Archie VA again. So I'll pass it back to you, Bernard, and then you can pass it around to the group, or you can bring Tony in if you want, mate. You do whatever you wish, Bernard. Are you still listening, Archie? He might be. I think he might be a bit busy at the moment, actually, Bernard, putting some settings into the equaliser. Yeah, so?
I heard him. I'll speak to you, Bernard. How are you? Mike 0 SKA.
Good afternoon again. I thought I'd be off for a moment, but good to hear you, Dave. Hope everything and the family are okay.
Bernard. I'm in work mode at the moment. I'm on nights tonight for a couple of nights, Bernard. Then I've got 12 days off, so that'll be nice, Bernard. So yeah, everybody's good, and I hope you're all well down there, Bernard. Weather's miserable. I think Mark said it was raining. It's raining here. It's a really miserable day, Bernard.
Oh.
Yeah, yesterday Dave was really bad one. I'm not too sure of the storm of hailstones as well as the rain. And we've got that big storm that the rain coming on. So I'm not sure, but a different day, Dave.
Yeah, I know. It is really horrible. I'm looking outside. I've got rain battering on the window, and it's grey, dull, windy. So I really don't want to venture out yet, Bernard.
Well, I don't think it is. I'm one of those times other than making it big, let's go back to and ask M0 and GW4 ZUJ.
Yeah, GW4ZUJ. G'day, Bernie. It's you're not very strong with me, but I can hear because the band's very quiet. But the signal strength is low. But you're sounding pretty good. Yes, the band's quiet, so I can hear you very clearly. Here it is quite horrible. It's quite wet and overcast and drizzly. Not a very nice day at all outside, Bernard. Back to you.
Are you
That's the correct pins.
Yeah, yes, Bernard, yes. I had it done completely wrong. So I realised that I'd actually made some mistakes in some of the, well, I didn't realise, Mark realised and told me I'd made some mistakes in some of the wiring configurations. So everything has been stripped back, redone, and done to a standard. So I'm very pleased with the end result because I know everything is good now. Back to you.
Oh.
I missed that, Bernard. Sorry, you had to redo what? I can't remember. Didn't quite pick up what you said. And Bernard, when Tony called in some time, call Tony when you're done with me.
Yeah, okay, what I said, Mark, we know that your left two ways is available.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the audio voodoo sat nav. I should have done that, yes. You're quite right.
Yeah, okay, Bernard, this is M0 video. Good evening, afternoon to everyone. Dave, Mark, Marky, and you, Bernard, of course. You're very, very in love with me, Bernard. It's QSB, it's the time of day, it's the band, just the way it is. But Dave and Marky are quite strong. Mark MRR, a bit of QSB with you, ironically. We normally not like that. And Bernard, same with you. So there we go. I can't hang around too long, lads, because the good lady will be back with the kids in a minute, and it'll be like Holy Howl's birthday. And I thought I'd just call in there quickly, just to say hello. So there we go. Yes. So very good afternoon to you, Bernard. GW4ZUJ. This is M0 video. Yeah, okay, I think you put it back to me, Bernard, yeah.
Yeah, so she is. Yeah, she's due back. Well, she'll be, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes yet, I should imagine. But yeah, I've sneaked into the shack. The one little one's busy watching. She's busy watching The Lion King in the front room. So I thought I'd have a quick cigarette, quick cup of tea, and a quick waffle on here. So there we go. Anyway, M0MSW, Mr. Markey, Birmingham's finest. This is M0 Video. Right to you.
Yeah, lovely to hear you, so lovely strong signal, mate. You're huge. You're an absolute monk of a signal, man. So working extremely well, matey. And yeah, well, I'm glad you took 5 to escape, mate, and get a bit of RFA when you can. So you can't resist it, can you? So you just can't stay away from the old 80 metre band. So, but no, good to hear you, matey. I hope all is well there with Squeaky, and I presume it's Martha that's watching The Lion King. So very good, Matt. As long as she's quiet and you can't hear no sounds, she's probably quite happy, quite content. So yeah, very good, matey. Well, there's a few on frequency. I'll pass it round to Mr. SKA, and that'll be nice, Dave. When you get that time off, mate, we'll be able to play loads of radio, Dave. M0SKA, 0MSW.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, after I've packed up the caravan and winter on, because we've got to come out of the van at the end of the month. So that's one of the main jobs that I need to do. But yeah, good afternoon, sir. All signals were affected by this noise and QSB itself marking. With that. So it is what it is. And did Mark tell you that Sharon was on the radio the other day, Marky, and she had better audio than Marky?
I could quite imagine that, Dave. I could quite well imagine that. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's not going to good go at it, Dave. I mean, his soldering's not bad, but yeah. Come on, Mark, defend yourself.
Well, I don't know quite. All the excitement of everything. I need a holiday, but some of us have to work, and even when you do go to work, you don't work. Dave, it's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. I know not what to say.
He was flummoxed when I made the comment.
Well, at least I haven't burnt a balance, so I'm happy about that.
Well, burning the balance, Mark, is something to be proud of.
I didn't burn any balance.
I think you're getting Dave confused with Neil.
No, there's nothing to say. Well, good. I'm jealous that you're going to be on leave for 12 days, but fair play to you. It's a great pattern to work. I'm going to pop on. I'm going to do the bits and pieces I've got. Pete's just messaged me and asked me to give him a ring, so I might depart from your company for a little while. Probably as the afternoon goes on. So I'll be back in a little while, but thank you for your efforts and your words of encouragement and advice for different things. And Dave, I will get you some rock from Ramsgate and post it to you.
Well, is it edible rock, Mark, or a rock off the floor?
There will be a pebble from the seaside.
I think that's illegal, isn't it? Taking pebbles from the beach now.
Is it?
I'm sure I read something somewhere about that.
Wow.
It would be the same as feeding ducks. It's a nonsense.
Bloody did.
They've got a law not far away from where I work. You're not allowed to feed ducks.
Well, how can you not be allowed to feed ducks? What's happening to the world?
Well, at one time, they banned people from feeding the ducks bread because they said it didn't do them any good, and then all the ducks were bloody starving.
Yeah, well, I think you're supposed to give them brown bread, really, but yeah. Just got to hope that all the ducks don't end up brown bread, Mark.
Yeah, I know. It's nonsense. I mean, the kiddies, they like going down to the river and they like feeding their ducks. one of the local councils pass on things like how to do it and put big signs on. I'm thinking, who the hell is going to do it? At the end of the day, children are people enjoying themselves and feeding the ducks and engaging in nature. Let them be alone. Leave them alone. Let them get on with it. So if there is a thing about pebbles, wanting to completely ignore it.
Well, I wonder if there's any law against feeding ducks popping candy. Have you ever seen a duck eat some popping candy, Mark?
No. What happens?
Wow. They run around crazy. It happened to be to me by mistake when I was fishing once, Mark. I was only young. I was about sort of 12. But I used to be heavily into fishing, and I had some little those little packs of popping candy that explode in your mouth, and I spilt it on the floor next to where I was fishing, and all the ducks came and ate it, and I couldn't stop them, Mark. But once they had some in their mouth, they went crazy.
Sends them quackers.
They were pretending to be in the water, and their little legs were running around there.
No, the problem is, Mark, they took a big mouthful each and jumped back into the water. Now, if you get popping candy wet, what happens?
It explodes.
Yeah, it pops. It pops when it gets wet, doesn't it? So they got a big load of it in their mouth, and all was okay. But as soon as they jumped in the water, it was starting getting absolutely crazy. It was quite funny, actually. I'm not proud because I love animals, but it was a mistake. It was an accident. Come on, Toad.
Yes, well, I bet it sends them quackers. The M0 video is good, but yeah, plenty of up and downage on the signals in there. But when it's good, though, it's lovely. Marky, you picked the 20 over it, and then drop down to a 5 and 8. It's still hear you, though. Mark MRR, the same, 5.9 plus 10 to 15, then drop down to a little bit on my noise level. Dave, pretty much the same, and the same for Bernard as well. So yeah, it's just the time of the day, I suppose, isn't it? So there we go. But lovely to get on that quick chinwag in the afternoon. And I think that report thing, I sent it to you, Marky, from that Tamitha Scove or Scov and Tamitha Kruger. That report does say that there will be excess noise on the bands. So first responders and amateur radio operators, beware. It will be a little bit more noisy. She didn't describe it as sizzling and bacon frying, but that's what we describe it. That's a professional amateur too. Anyway, but there we go. So yeah, lovely to hear you all on that. I'll chuck it up again. This is M0 video. Yeah, that noise started last night, Tony. Who gave that report, Tony?
Miss Kruger.
The lady was called Tamitha Scott. She's the space weather woman. Space weather woman. She is, Dave.
Oh, okay. Well, she was very correct because last night it was really, like sizzling sausages. So yeah, she's very accurate, Tony.
She is, Dave, and she's not bad looking. It's just that she looks a bit like Freddy Krueger, Dave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Does she have a black and red sweater on her?
Tamitha Cougar. Cougar?
She's a cougar or a Kruger?
A Kruger, I mean. Yeah, well, yeah, it was weird, wasn't it, Dave? I think it started about tea time. I was convinced it was localised to me, I was, because it was sort of an S9 and it came on like a light switch. Obviously you can, when there's big solar storms and stuff happening, it does happen, doesn't it? It does go flutter and all the rest of it, and sizzling noises, but it was the way it started. It was like somebody had switched something off, and then about I think it was about 10 o'clock, it just went off again, like somebody had switched it back off. So very strange the way it started and stopped so immediately. But if everybody's saying they have the same thing, then obviously it must have been atmospheric. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. She's Dave. She's quite good. Yeah, she gets most stuff right, doesn't she, Tom?
Yeah, I honestly thought, Mark, my daughter's got one of these touch lamps, and when that's on, it's a nightmare. And I honestly thought it was that, so I messaged her upstairs and said, "Have you put your lamp on?" And she said no. And like you say, it just disappeared. about 10 o'clock and went again. There you go. Anyway, listen, I'm going to make a brew. I'm going to have a listen around the band. I haven't got long, really. And I've got a couple of jobs to do. So I'll bid you all 7 please. May speak to you later, or it might get to tomorrow afternoon. But have a good afternoon, whatever you're doing. Bernard and Tony, Mark, if you're still there, and Marky. And let me know how Archie goes on. Hopefully he'll get those settings in. Round to you, Marky. 7 please for now. M0SKA clip.
The good lady's just returned, lads. So I'm going off ski. 7-3 for now. Lovely to hear you all on. Cheers, Tom. Cheers, Dave. Thanks for you, sir, Dave.
Yeah, 7-3, Bernard.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Mark. See you later.
Wow. Yeah. So Mark's sat there very content now, Bernie. Now he knows all the correct configuration, and he's loving life at the moment. Mark, is Bernard over? Yeah. The more people I'm hearing on about it, Bernard, the happier I feel. I thought it was something by me. I think we all do, don't we? You sort of sit there and think, oh no, what's this now? Yeah, it's that dreaded feeling, you know, when a local noise starts. Yeah, it was just a bit weird the way it sort of stops and starts. I can't remember. It's been a while since I heard conditions like this. But I think it's obviously something to do with that solar storm. Some sort of coronal ejection or something, Bernard, maybe. It's just weird the way it stops and started so quickly. Usually it sort of builds up and then dies back away again. Not sort of stops and starts like that. But I do recall it stopping and starting in the past before. So I suppose just down to whatever the solar storm's doing, Bernard, the way it is. Like when it's usually when it's auroras around, you get that fluttery sound, don't you? But the fluttery sound is different from the crackly sound. Technical terms, flutter and crackle. Round to Mark. Round to you, Mark.
M0MRR returning. Yeah, it's I didn't see that report, so I missed where that report was. But yeah, the band is it's been interesting, hasn't it? So yes, it's been noisy, but then it's been going much later on into the evening, which is very good. So there's always something going on with it. And I've just sent you a screenshot. The correct items have been ordered. So yes, I'll have bits and pieces for everything. And actually, it doesn't matter because I can use them as holders if I'm doing soldering and connectors and things like that. So nothing will be wasted, and they're very inexpensive for what they are. So yeah, I'll that will be the next little bit of iron in the near future. But Bernard, since I spoke to you yesterday, yeah, every single cable now has pretty well been done. One final cable to do, that's the PPT. The PPT switch, but everything else from the rack to the radio to the amplifier, rewired and read up to a high standard. So I'm really pleased about that. Bernard, back to you.
Yeah, okay, Mark, well, just so we actually connect to the radio.
I'm just
It will be nice when it's all completed with the and then we can have a good old chat. actually hear the effects of what's been achieved. I still probably need to do a couple more things in the shack. I'm not sure whether I'm going to leave it in this final configuration. It's always a work in progress, isn't it? There's never a cheap journey that counts. GW4ZUJM0NRR.
I've just sent everybody out a link to the Solar Storm report by Tamata Kruger.
Going back to the US one, that was installed. Yeah, there's some really heavy QSB today, Bernie. You're right up strong, then you're right down low, you know, up and down, so like a yo-yo. But yeah, no, I do recall it myself, Bernie, actually thinking about it in the past where it's come on and off like that. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, some of the effects that the storms can have. But you'll probably be quite interested in that space where the news report. We've been watching that now for years, Bernard, and it gives you a good indication of what's going to happen with the band. But you always got to, that report's usually about 3 or 4 days in front of us. So usually whatever she says on that report sort of happens about 3 or 4 days after. It takes time for it to come into effect, if you like. But it's a good thing to keep an eye on, that is. So once you've watched it in your browser, subscribe to the channel or whatever, and save it to your favourites, so you can. I think they do one every month. I think there's a report every month. I think, or is it every week? No, it's every week. They do a report every week, so if you save a link on your desktop or something, you just click on it, and it's not always. Obviously, it's not always right with any weather forecast. Things can change, can't they, from the forecasted point? But usually, yeah, sort of 8 times out of 10, she's right, and you can see everything she says. You can slowly hear it happening, unfolding on the band. So quite interesting. Back round to Mr. Mark.
Returning to group. I need to make a call now, so I'm going to skedaddle now. So I'm going to say 73 to you both. I will be on a bit later and on as well this evening, but not too late. And I will catch up with you then. Bernard, you're still the signal strength still isn't strong, but I'm getting you very well because the band is very quiet. And Marky, you're thundering in here at quite often a 10 over, so it's just interesting conditions as well. I will speak to you both a bit later. Back round to you, Marky, and I'll catch up with you soon from M0NRR.
Cheers, Mark. Take care, matey, and no doubt we'll catch up in a short while. Round to you, Ben. Yeah, no, sometimes the readings, Bernie, do say NA, they do say not available sometimes. I think it's when the data is not always, I don't think the system always gets the updates it needs update the the graphs and things like that, the propagation graphs. So it sort of gets stuck for a bit on not available. But if you keep checking it, Bernie, in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, it'll come back again, Bernie. Yeah, or paint the antenna wire with antifreeze, but you can use neat blackcurrant as well. Robinson's blackcurrant works well as antifreeze burner. We'll have to all paint the antenna wires, won't we, in the feed line? Yeah. Well, no, that's not available. Can stay there for hours, Bernard, sometimes. So it just, I think it's when there's a bit of a glitch in the readings or something, maybe. It can happen at all sorts of random times. It was not available a few days ago for hours, and all of a sudden it comes back on again. So it's something to do with that. It's not completely reliable. That reading there obviously isn't completely reliable. So it misses a beat every now and again, I think. So yeah, mate. So yeah, it's been interesting the last few days, Bernard. We've had loads of people making loads of discoveries and improvements, and it's been pretty good. We've got a new chap on the crew now as well, Rod. M0 Victor Mike Victor, who's called into us last night. Actually, he emailed me the day before to introduce himself. I think we had spoken in the past, and it was nice to hear Rod calling last night for the first time, and using a load of rack gear burning and a TS990, and sounding pretty good. So another soldier to the army, Bernard.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, the rest of it, I don't know whether we get started the rack or, getting into the stuff, or, I think the first thing that we do is we do it then,
Yeah. Oh, apologies, Bernard. I had a great big yawn then. It was like I breathed the whole shack in. It was that much of a big yawn. Yeah, just swallowed a load of rack gear and speakers. Yes, his name is Rod. Romeo Oscar Delta. Rod's his name, and he lives quite local to me actually, Bernard. He's over in King's Standing, which is over sort of Erdington direction. That sort of general direction. So probably as the RF flies, Bernie, and I guess I'd probably say about 6, 7, 8 miles maybe. Maybe not quite that far. Maybe I can't remember that. Probably about 6 or 7 miles, I would think, somewhere around there. Or is it more than that? Is it about 15 mile? I can't really think now. I'll have to have a look at the map. But he's quite local to me anyway, Bernard, and I think he's been using the rat gear for quite some time. I think he's been collecting it up bit by bit and having a mess and getting bits of information from places and having a bit of a tweak himself. And he sounded quite good, to be honest. I could hear straight away areas that could be improved, but in general he sounded very good, Bernard. The 990 sounded pretty awesome, to be honest. So I think he's been doing it for a relative time. I think he's been tweaking it for quite a while, but just hasn't really got involved with any of us guys, I think. So yeah, it was nice when he called in, Bernard. His call sign is M0 Victor Mike Victor, M0 VMV. So yeah, it's called Bernard. Yes, I was going to say something else, and it's gone. Can't remember. GW4ZUJ. I was going to say, Bernard, any progress on the moving the gear about? Any progress on the shack improvements? The what did it used to be called now? What was that program called on the telly, Bernard, where they came in and did like a makeover? What was that called? GW4ZUJ, M0MSW.
Yeah, I know what it is on here, then not a Delta. And that's with the new integration. Along with a couple of tips on that's going on what we're doing.
Yeah. GW4 ZUJ M0 MSW. Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, you got to make sure your balance waterproof, you Bernard. You don't have to be submerged in water, not ideally anyway. Yeah, so I'll use one of those balance designs, one at the moment, mate. So the 4-to-1, 1-to-1 hybrid balance design from DX Shop. From DX Shop, I bought one of those from. I think loads of people are using them now. They've caught on quite quick, the old hybrid balance burner, but they're in a nice waterproof box as well. So they've got all seals on them and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think if the balance not designed to go outdoors, it's not an external balance. Then I think a lot of people they sort of put it somewhere where it won't get wet. Don't they? Sort of under the eaves of the house or something, or in a place where the rain doesn't go. But if it's exposed, then yeah, you've got to weatherproof it, haven't you, matey? So yeah, you'll have to suss that one out, Bernard. So what's the actual balance you're using, Bernard? Who's the manufacturer of that, or is it the homebrew one, Bernard? Over? Wow. Yeah, very good, Burner. You're a nice strong signal again now. That's nice to hear, mate. You've been right down with me all morning, but you just come up nice and strong now, Burner. So nice and easy to hear. I think I remember the name of that program, Burner. I think it was Changing Rooms. Was it Changing Rooms from the 90s? I think that's the one I was. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, Changing Rooms. That was the original one, wasn't it? And then they all jumped on the bandwagon and copied it. Well, copied that one anyway. Moving the shack round, Bernie, it can be an absolute nightmare, can't it? It can be a real nightmare. I think if you've got sort of like if all the cables are excessive lengths, it's quite forgiving, isn't it? You can move gear around and replace any cables, but if all your cables are like sort of done to the exact lengths, all custom lengths, to the correct lengths, you can't move anything around, can you? So you have to replace all the cables. Well, not all of them, because obviously certain things will still be the same. But you know, more often than not, you'll have to replace 2 or 3, or make some longer ones, or maybe even shorten a couple of them. But usually that's the case. If I was to move mine, Bernie, if I was to move all my radio gear from the right-hand side of the room and to the left-hand side, it'd be an absolute nightmare. You'd have to there'd be loads of leads that have to change the length of. So yeah, that's just the whole ball ache of it, isn't it? It's all the cables and stuff, and it depending on how nice they are as well. If you've got all really nice, expensive, well not expensive, but just really nice quality cables, it's a bit of a headache to have to sort of like start chopping them all up and making new ones again, and it can be a bit of a headache, can't it? It's one of them things you just got to give yourself a place to start, and then say, right, you just got to make a start, think you, and sort of start to peck away at it, and then that's how I am anyway. I'll put it off for weeks, but something like that. I'll put it off for weeks and weeks. I sort of dread doing it. But when you come to doing it, it's not actually ever as bad as what you think you do. I think the longer you put something up, the worse it seems. The worse it gets in your mind anyway. But as soon as you start, you think, right, I'll start with all that bit first. But you start to do it in like sections or whatever, don't you? And before you know it, within a day or 2 or whatever, you're sort of halfway through. And once you get to that point, you think, you start to actually enjoy it then, because you feel like you're on the winning side. You're on the, you've only got the winning half of the battle left. Yeah, I've been through that so many times. It's madness. But I haven't moved anything for ages now, Bernie. I'm determined to leave everything well rooted now. I'm not going to change. So I shouldn't have said that, should I? Because as soon as you say I'm not going to touch or change anything, you end up having to rip the shack apart. So I probably shouldn't have spoke too soon, mate. But yeah, very good, mate. The balance you mentioned as well, Bernie. Yeah, mine essentially, Bernie, is a 4-to-1, same as yours. It's a 4-to-1. It's also got the 1-to-1 as well. So it's the transformation is still 4-to-1 ratio. But of course, you've got the added line isolation, the isolator as well, the 1-to-1. So it's they sort of call it a hybrid balance. That's made by a company called Balance Designs. Basically the guys at DX Shop, I think. So if you have a look on Google there, Bernard, have a look on DX Shop, Delta X-Ray Shop, DX Shop, and type in hybrid balance or whatever. And you'll see it. Quite an interesting, quite simple, but interesting way to do. They stack the 2 balance in series, and quite a neat design, but and very well made, to be honest. It's in a proper box with all weatherproof seals and all that sort of stuff, Bernard, and all stainless steel fixings and silver-plated SO239. Really nice quality, to be honest. They're not cheap, they're about 100 quid, I think, for 20 quid. But a really nice balance, because obviously you've got the 4-to-1 ratio, and you've got the line isolator and the isolator directly after it as well. Or before it, can't think now. Balance Designs. GW4ZUJ, yes, they're my stuff. You go and get your dinner, mate. You're getting cold. So, yeah, very interesting, mate, on the DX shop, Ballon Designs. And yeah, I'd imagine that it's the, well, it's going to be, hasn't it? You've got the 4-to-1 and the high impedance side, the ladder, for the high impedance line, and the 1-to-1 on the low impedance side, on the input side. Yeah, it seems to work okay. It gets a little bit warm if I waffle for ages, then go and put my hands on it. It's somewhat a bit warm. But I do like to use 400 watts plus or minus a kilowatt. You know, so catch you a bit later, don't miss your dinner. You'll be getting cold. GW4ZUJ, M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey, back to monitoring with a splash. Cheers, Bernie. M0VAF. M0VAF. I wonder if you're all listening, aren't you? M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey.
I think I might have just about assessed it. I think I might have just about assessed it, so I'm now trying.
Okay, matey. I think perseverance is the key here, mate. I think the key word today actually is perseverance in it, but I think, yeah, no, you'll get there, matey. You'll get there. I think it may have been, you know, what we suspected. We were storing it wrong. So it will need to be stored into the same preset. I think we were storing them all as separate presets, or you know, jumbling it all around. Yeah, no, it's okay. There's no rushes there, mate. You know, you've got to get to the point where you know what, you know how to use the unit. So there's no better way than that, actually, than to keep pressing the buttons. The more you press them buttons, the more familiarised you get with that unit. And yeah, we'll get there in the end, mate. As long as we get there sometime, it doesn't matter when. M0VAF, M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey.
M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey, M0VAF. Yeah, I've probably made the biggest break in the last 10 seconds, so let me just get my head around this bit and I'll call you back in a minute, Marky, okay?
Okay, I won't break concentration any further, mate. You carry on, and if you need me to come on the air, if I don't reply, just send me a text message to prime me up ready. Cheers, Archie. M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey back to standby. I wonder if M0 Victor Mike Victor is listening. M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey. Have you got your ears on, Rod? M0 VMV, M0 MSW.
Wat mij betreft niet. En ja, de rest is een kwestie van smaak ook. Dus ja, de ene zal het mooi vinden, de andere niet. Maar dat hou je toch bij hem. Ja, Roosje.
And you can do this many times, and at the end of it, when you read the whole thing, very first time someone else reads it, they say, oh, look, that's a spelling mistake. It's just something you see.
I'm hoping the next time you're on some of this in your job first, and I can prove it, because obviously no one's proving it. He said, you can feel that? I said, yes. After 12 sets of anaesthetics, they said, do you want me to abort? I said, if you do, you'll never, ever, ever see me again. Just get on with it. And the nurse who was holding my hand, I said, look, don't hold my hand. Just put your hand on the back of my hand. And unfortunately, it was a plastic rail at the side of the chair. Well, it was when I sat down. And when I got up, it wasn't. I'd snapped it in 3 places. So I'll probably get billed for that. And he said he'd never seen anything like it in his life. Her surgeon was absolutely brilliant, a young lad. And I can now see absolutely perfectly through my right eye. Whereas previous to that, it was just a dense fog permanently. But hey ho, and he said, you know, if you ever have to come back, and I went, right. He said, I've made notes that we need to hit you with a big hammer. It's probably the only thing that's going to work. And I'm afraid I felt everything he did. But it's all done now. En ik heb er nu uitgezet en ik zie hier gewoon met mijn hand. Ik zie nu gewoon 100 van de minuten uit de zit. En ik denk dat het zo richting Martinez is. Nou, we laten hem hier gewoon lekker zo staan. Maar ik moet deze toerste weer zo staan. Ik ga gelijk met een autootje met schieten hoe die de wereld zo kan. Ik weet niet, moet er al meer blad in, of ik er laag in, of hoog. Ik vind dat zo goed.
Nou, ik vind het wel goed hoor. Er was overigens nog iemand die zei het klinkt wel goed hè, maar ik weet niet wie dat was. Kuurzit. Oh, die is alweer verder gegaan, Rob. Nee, dus ik zou het maar even zo laten om te beginnen, geven.
Ja, dat is schön. Nou, dan laat ik gewoon die andere instellingen er ook in staan van de MD100. Dan zet ik de MD100 weer aan de andere zet, aan de 897 en laat ik hem voorlopig maar even zo staan, Martin. En dan nou, breng ik morgen het spul eventjes terug naar Sjors en dan wachten we maar af wat daar uitkomt. Alaska, let's go out over £1,000 for the PA. And then I'm going over to Alan G4BXQ. Unfortunately, to pick up all his gear, Alan's given up ham radio completely. So I'm going up there to bring everything back down here to sell it on his behalf. So that's next week, and it's going to be the first time I've done a long drive after the cataract thing. It's about a 1,200 mile round trip, but hey ho, got to be done. Okay, thanks for being there, David. You're a star. M0 NMI, the Royal Sugarsnet, G-Trable, Baker Roger.
Well, you were, when you came back to start with, you were 5.9 plus 15. Dropped down to 5 and 7, and then you came back up again. You're about 5.9 plus 10 when you passed it over to me. So you're doing okay with your 90 watts. That's all I've ever had, I'm afraid. I've got 100 anyway. So there we are. Anyway, you're at the bottom of the list, so I'll stick out another call and see if there's anybody else who'd like to join us. CQ Royal Signals at CQ Royal Signals. This is Mike 0, November Mike India. Mike 0, November Mike India, calling CQ Royal Signals. No, that's it for the moment. Okay, back up to the top we go. Golf 0, Charlie Whiskey Papa. Take it away, Keith, over.
obviously that one didn't start, so not really to get on that one. So I've worked loads of that before the other person, and just thinking C4RS. I did work C4RS last week, they did me a label for the 4,000, so I believe that I should have answered, but I think he's an estimate there, but the last one was
G0CWP and 0NMI. When you've come right up, Keith, you've come right up. I think Ian, I heard Ian, I think he came in while you were on, but he may be able to copy you. So I'll pass it over to Ian, see if he can copy you. So it's your go now, Ian, anyway. So if you can copy Keith, please give him a call. Golf 3, Romeo Victor Mike, Mike 0, November, Mike India.
This is G3RVM Golf 3 Romeo Victor Mike. Yeah, I did copy the Keith at the time, strangely. I think that the noise, the sound of the noise seems to be changing, but the level on the pan adapter is staying the same. But his signal suddenly became about Q4 S9, of course, because the noise is on S9. But so the report is 4 and 9 at the moment. So yeah, we could have a go. So G0CWP, your report is 4 and 9. 4 and 9. My name is Ian, India Alpha November. India Alpha November. My QTH is Newbury, November Echo Whiskey Bravo Uniform Romeo Yankee. And the Royal Signal number is 4278. 4278. I think that's all the information I have to give you, I think, Keith. So I should hopefully get the information okay from you. G0CWP from Golf 3 Romeo Victor Mike. Right, well, I didn't do too well. The serial number, signal report 5 and 7. I got the 5 and 7, Keith. I got your name okay. I could just do with the, I did have the QTH earlier. I think I looked it up on QRZ, but that's cheating, isn't it? So can you give me the QTH again and the raw signals number again, please? Over.
Charlie, Alpha, November, Oscar, Oscar, Tango, Hotel,
Right. I've got 3776, okay. I got most of the QTH. I've got the first 3 letters, Charlie, Alpha, Romeo. What was the remaining letters, over?
November, Oscar, Tango, Hotel,
Carforth, okay, got it. Thank you for that, QSO. And that's a good one then, Keith. I didn't think we'd make that today because the conditions are improving a little bit between us. Yeah, Ray, you mentioned solar panels. I've just noticed the other day when I was parking the car that they're springing up all around me. That might be something to do with my problem. Suddenly people are putting all these panels on the roof just around the corner about 20 yards away from me. And so maybe that's a bit of a problem. And for all this information about cataracts, I don't know how welcome it is, because I have my eyes tested every couple of years. I think they want to do it every year now, I think.
The last test was a few weeks ago, and every time I complain that I can't really see the television that well. I've got a 65-inch television, and yet I can't. I have difficulty reading the guide, any text. I have difficulty with it. I think there's some sort of double vision going on. And so the only explanation they could produce for that was that there was a slight cataract starting in my...
That's a bit better there, wasn't that? That's it.
I'll just look a little bit more about these racks. So, unfortunately, because it's too high, what if you adjusted on the microphone?
There's a switch on there where you can switch it between what's bassy and what's not so bassy. So yeah, do you want to go back on 10 so we've got a better signal? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so, maybe. I think that might be what it is.
Okay, go back on 10.
Yeah, it's definitely cut. Hang on, yeah.
So the lights, so it sounds like you're not bypassing or you make no difference then, actually.
M0VAF. Okay, Marky, but that's the bypass off, and that's now is with the light on. That's the light on. Back to you, Marky.
Okay, now switch to the other position, Archie.
M0VAF with the light on. M0VAF with the light off. Light off. Back to you, Marky.
Well, I'm not hearing any difference, actually, which is very strange. Is it the conditions? No, it should be a massive difference. When you bypass the EQ, you should sort of hear this, Archie. I'll just bypass. I've got other EQs in as well, but I'll bypass the main EQ so you can hear the effect. Yours should be a lot more drastic than this stuff. That's with my EQ bypassed. That's with my EQ bypassed. And that's with the EQ back in line, Archie. It should make a massive, huge difference, and I'm not hearing any difference at all at the moment.
Okay, mate, and no idea why. Let me just change one connection, Marky. Let me just change one connection. I'll be back to you in a minute, alright?
Okay, Archie, no problem at all. Take your time, mate. I'm here monitoring 666. 6666. Two, 66. Wow. Lovely and quiet, peaceful. Tumbleweeds, open desert. I've just found a bar of gold. M0 Victor Mike Victor. M0 let's look in.
M0 VAF returning. I've just changed one connection, Marky. Is that what you said?
No, still bypassed, Archie. It hasn't actually come into line yet. The whole way through it's been bypassed. So why isn't it doing anything now? Because yesterday I heard it work. Okay, so Yeah, the connections to it actually, I think you can go unbalanced or balanced into that EQ. I presume you can either use unbalanced or balanced. And obviously you just want to go input to channel 1 and output from channel 1. But yeah, that's all you should need to do on that. But why isn't it doing anything when you activate it and bypass it? Okay, so have you got the 5? You know when you sort of when you load the preset number 1, when you recall preset number 1, do you get the 10 red LED lights on in the filter bank? Does it display those 10 filters, Archer?
No, it doesn't. But what happens is on the front of the EQ, I've got 12 filters, and all 12 filters now are eliminated. So eliminated apart from filter number 1. So the only bank working is bank number 1. If I now go to frequency, hang on a minute. And the first one on the frequency is 40. The bandwidth I've got is 15, and the next one I've got is +8, which is the gap.
I can't make sense of what's going on. Actually, I really can't. I'm really struggling to make any sense of this. So, you've loaded in 10 presets. You've loaded in 10 filters. So you would have had 10 red lights illuminated. But now you're only showing 1 illuminated. So where have the other 9 gone? I'm getting more and more lost with this, Archer.
I've only got 1 light, but in that 1 light, there is 10 inputs behind that 1 light. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's the preset bank. We're on about 2 different things here, Archie. You've got the preset bank and your filter bank. Okay, so each preset has got a bank of filters. So I think we might be getting cross wires and all sorts here, Archie. I've got a feeling that might be happening a bit. There's 2 different types. Those red lights do 2 things. They either display the preset number or the amount of filters that are in use. So each preset has got a bank of filters. So in preset number 1, you should be displaying 10 lights. When you're in preset number 1, you should be displaying 10 lights, Archie. So if you can recall preset number 1, so press the preset button, scroll to number 1, press the OK or select. You should come up with your 10 filters then, Archie.
That's where it's not working, Mark, because I've only got 1 light, so no, I need to go back to the drawing board, mate.
Yeah. I can't think of anything else. I'm just trying to desperately think of something else to try. I can't. There is nothing else to try. So I'll go through the full sequence to what I think it is from factory reset. Factory reset, the unit is absolutely blank. Okay, so you start off by pressing the parametric button to put the unit into parametric mode. You then start to input your 10 filters. And as you're inputting your 10 filters, you'll see each filter, as each filter is activated, as soon as you touch the gain control on each frequency, on each filter, as soon as you use plus or minus, as soon as you make a gain adjustment, that filter will be activated. So once you've inputted the 10 presets, you should have 10 lights lit up. 10 lights lit up. Once you put the preset frequencies in, the 10 filters in, you should have 10 lights in a line. And all those 10 lights should be on preset number 1. And that's it. That is literally, I can't think of any other reason why. As long as each time you, so the first thing you do is you'd switch the unit on, you go into parametric mode, you'd start off by pressing frequency select number 1 and putting that one in, then frequency select number 2, put that one in, frequency select number 3, put that one in, and so on up to 10. And once you've got the full 10 in, you obviously store it again for the last time, and that should store those 10 filters, those 10 lights, into preset number 1. Now, you know as you're storing each filter, it asks you which preset you want to store that filter in. Make sure you're in select number 1, because once you've put the information in for a filter, so for example, once you put in like 40 Hz and quarter of an octave and +4, it asks you to store that setting, doesn't it? Well, when it asks you to store that setting, you'll also notice the preset light flashes at the same time. So you can put that filter in whatever preset bank you wish to. So always make sure when you go to that each store sequence, always make sure you select preset bank number 1. So in other words, all those 10 filters will all go into preset number 1. So they should just pile up on top of each other, you know. So you end up with a pile of, you should end up with a line of 10 lights illuminated on preset number 1. Use preset number 1. M0 VAF, M0 MSW.
M0 MSW, M0 VAF. Okay, mate, back to the drawing board. Back in contact in a minute.
Okay, Archie. I admire your patience, but sometimes it does take that, mate. We've had a few incidents over the last few days where people were going to throw things out the back door.
Okay, mate, here we go. So I'm now having to go. Back to contact soon.
Cheers, Archie. Just go through it methodically, and each time if you get stuck, just factory reset, start again. Until you can get those 10 filters. So basically, the end result, Archie, the end result you need to see on the display, you need to see 10 lights lit up, 10 of those little LEDs lit up on the left-hand side, on the left-hand channel, and those should all be in preset number 1. User preset number 1. Speak to you in a bit, Archie. Just give us a call whenever you need to. What a lovely quiet band. M0 video. M0 MSW. RSD. I wonder if you've got your ears on, John. M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey. M7 RSD. M0 MSW. Rig with a mid, 50 quid. Oh, that was a very creaky plastic PTT. It sort of made like a sound. lovely quiet band. Where's all the audio, boys? Come on, this is M0, Mike Sierra Whiskey, the dark, deep swamps of Hampton in Arden. M0 MSW calling for any of the audio holics. M0 Mike Sierra Whiskey calling for any of the audio holics.
You activated my squelch.
It's got to be me, ain't it, Mark? I'm always there, mate. I'm thinking of retiring and hanging my microphone up soon, Mark.
Yeah, I just, you know, I've been all day I've been to remove those 13 pin DIMMs and things from the iBox and then just take the boot back off and put the disable bit, which is hard to even contemplate going to work tomorrow, thank you.
Nor me, Mark. I mean, those sickies are very easy to pull, Mark.
Yeah, but yeah, I think, you know, my younger brother retired at 50, a little bit older than him, and I'm thinking, yeah, and my dad retired I think about 51, 52. I think I'm probably going to be working, given the inflation prevention department's zest for things, probably till I'm about 100. It's awful.
Well, you've been sentenced there, Mark. No, that's what it's about, mate. It's what it's about. If you want the nice things in life, you've got to have the readies, haven't you, Mark? So yeah, that's what it's about, really, mate. You went right down then. I think the band's having a bit of a paddy this afternoon. It's very up and down, but yeah. So the band seems very nice and quiet today, Mark. Seems really peaceful on 80 metres. The noise floor seems very smooth.
Yeah, it is. It's everyone's signal that I was speaking to earlier was a lot up and down, but it's so quiet. It's easy to listen anyway. Bernard was right down with me, but I can hear him quite clearly. The only one I did struggle with was the chap who's got the same piece of equipment as Dave, where the settings were going. I struggled with him in relation to that. The audio was a bit muffled for me.